Greetings and welcome inside another edition of Serving the Valley, a chance for you to learn about some outstanding service organizations that we have here in our community. Today's one of my favorites, the Salvation Army. You've seen them around Christmas time and around our community, and today we're joined by Majors Harold and Lynetta Poff. You have been involved with Salvation Army for a couple of decades. You're relatively new to the area, and our goal is to tell the viewer some details about why they should give of their time, of their money, to help you lead this program here in the Cedar Valley to help out our community. So welcome to the show, welcome to the community, and maybe just start talking about what is the Salvation Army in your eyes, and what are some things you really want people to understand about the good work that you do here?
The Salvation Army is first and foremost my church, and we're the pastors of the Salvation Army church congregation here, and both Major Harold and I were brought up in the Salvation Army. So my parents took me to the Salvation Army when I was a week old, and I've been going to the Salvation Army pretty much ever since, and highly involved from a kid in the church all the way up through adulthood.
Okay, so from a week old you've been involved. How long have you been a major then?
21 years.
21 years.
We've been actual Salvation Army officers.
In multiple communities as well?
Yes, from the mountains of western North Carolina to Waterloo, Iowa.
Wonderful. Well, we're glad to have you here. And Harold, so she started when she was about a week old. How far back does yours trace to the Salvation Army?
Just as far back. I like to say that my family's been involved since William Booth was general.
Okay.
But I started out about the same age she did.
And so you two have traveled and seen what is going on in different communities. Why do you feel like it is important for you to go spend 5 or 6 years in Fort Wayne, Indiana, in multiple different states, to bring some of that information here to the Cedar Valley?
Well, I think it's important. Obviously, communities can learn from each other. And we've had many experiences over 21 years and different opportunities for service. So what making these moves do, it gives us a chance to bring new ideas and to bring fresh eyes, so to speak, to look at how the Salvation Army is operating here and how can we make it better and serve more people.
And the Salvation Army in Waterloo Cedar Falls is different than where you've been in the past?
Oh, very different.
How so?
There's so much more here. We've been in other places where we had a meal program, and we've been in places where we've had a shelter program. This is the only place we've been where we do both, and not just one shelter, but we have 2 shelters and a transitional housing and a lunch program.
Wow.
And a lot of other things going on as well. So there's a much larger expression of the Salvation Army here than in other places we've served.
So Lynetta, June 24th, 2015, that's when you officially moved here. Is it feeling more comfortable, more like home, and getting to know, as Harold mentioned, just that community and all that it has to offer?
Actually, I have to say, within an hour of arriving in Waterloo, I had to walk in someplace and ask for directions and find somewhere where I didn't know where to go without the GPS. And the citizens in this community have been very helpful, even from that first hour of walking into a stranger and saying, help me find this place and give me some directions. So they've been very hospitable and very welcoming to virtually a stranger in their community. So that put me at ease right away.
So what are some of the things that you do as a major, and why are you looking forward to taking this leadership that you have here and leading the Waterloo Cedar Falls Salvation Army?
We wear many different hats. And I think just bringing our own personalities and our own skill sets into a new community and reevaluating what's being done here and what has been done, and then seeing how we can match our skill sets to that and help move things forward.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I want a little history lesson here.
Okay.
It's been around for over 100+ years, nationally as well as in our community. So talk about the Salvation Army. How did it get its start? How has it evolved from day one to where we are here in 2015?
Well, actually, the Salvation Army internationally just celebrated its 150th anniversary. It's founded July 2nd, 1865 in London by William and Catherine Booth. William was an ordained Methodist minister, and his wife was a self-taught theologian. She, as a young person, had health issues that prevented her from being very active, even to attending school. So she basically taught herself to read, and then she began reading a lot of deep theological works that her husband William, the preacher, never touched, oddly enough. It's kind of interesting how that relationship worked. But the Salvation Army began in London as a mission to the poor, the lost. Back in William Booth's day, the term they used was heathen, which strikes me as a little strange to call your fellow Englishmen heathen, but they were in many ways. The East End of London was about as rough a place as you can imagine. So the armies began there, and of course it spread. In, I think it was October of 1879, a young lady by the name of Eliza Shirley immigrated with her parents. She was all of about 16 years old, immigrated to the United States with her parents because her father was out of work. And she and her mother began holding Salvation Army meetings in an old broken down factory. They had to clean out the pigeons and an old horse that was tied up in the corner to clean it up enough to have a meeting. But from that, William Booth realized that if he wanted to continue to be general of all the Salvation Army, he had to get on top of it, and dispatched officers who arrived in March of 1880 when the work really took off to the United States. Locally, the Salvation Army has been in the Cedar Valley since 1899. Permanently. I understand there was some kind of unofficial and not very solid work going on before that, but from July of 1899, the Salvation Army has been here in the Cedar Valley. And I'm not sure of all the history yet of the location where we are, but we've been there a long time. People know that address well, and obviously the building has evolved over the decades. And then, of course, we've added other work as well.
So what does the Salvation Army mean to you personally? What does it mean to you, our country, and why are you so passionate about it? Why do you want our viewers to know about it as well?
If it weren't for the Salvation Army, I would probably be in prison at this point in time.
Okay.
I grew up on the wrong side of the tracks in a rough family, and but for the grace of God and some very compassionate people wearing suits like this, I would have been in trouble decades ago. I'm very passionate about the work we do. Just this morning, we had a homeless guy who slept out overnight
in the cold
on a baseball field. We brought him into the building and got him some hot cocoa and a place to warm up. This ought not to be. You know, people should not have to live that way. And if we're not careful, I'm going to take up too much time preaching on that subject. But you see, I am very passionate about the poor and the needy and those that society pretty much forgets.
And you?
I would have to pretty much echo what he said. If it hadn't been for the Salvation Army giving me a place as a teenager to hang out and to stay out of trouble, and I could have taken that same path, but the Salvation Army's doors were always open to me, and I was there just about every night of the week because I felt welcomed. And I think we can be proud of that fact in the Cedar Valley because we have a place where kids can go after school in a safe place where they can be mentored and hang out and be off the streets. And I think that's an important part of our ministry that may not be as well known. that we have that activity center for after-school kids.
Well, 21 years that you both have been involved. We're so glad that you are here in our community. Excited to see the work that you will do as you continue to lead the Salvation Army in the Cedar Valley. And after the break, we'll talk with the volunteer side of it, because we need volunteers to volunteer for the Salvation Army.
Absolutely.
Need monetary donations as well. So we'll be back with plenty more Serving the Valley as we spotlight the Salvation Army right after the short break.
How far would you go to help save someone's life? How about to your closet, or your attic, or garage? When you donate your clothes, furniture, or other goods to the Salvation Army, those goods change lives. Donate today. Visit satruck.org to find a donation center near you, or call 1-800-SA-TRUCK for free pickup. You'll be doing the most good.
From the world wars to Korea, Vietnam, to the Persian Gulf, Afghanistan, and Iraq, they saw what few others ever saw. But many veterans don't talk about their experiences. It may be because you've never asked. Learn what you can't always find in the history books. Interview or contribute materials from the veteran in your community for the Library of Congress Veterans History Project. Download a field kit from our website to find out how you can play a role in preserving history.
Welcome back to Serving the Valley. Today we are focusing our attention on a very worthy service organization, the Salvation Army. It's been around for 150 years. It's been in our community since before the turn of the century, and we heard about some new leadership in this area. One of the employees running the show, volunteer coordinator Jackie Bilyeu Holmes, and I know you haven't been with Salvation Army a long time, but why is it an organization that you are passionate about and that you wanted to be connected with?
I think it's the work that we do. I think the impact that we have in the community very much lies in the work that we do with individuals, whether we're providing food, shelter, clothing, or hope. I think that's really the key piece for me, and I think that's what excites me about bringing people into the organization with volunteers, is that our volunteers literally help us at every level to push that mission and to make that impact with the community.
So someone's watching this on the TV saying, well, I don't know, what are some of the things volunteers do? Why can people, maybe of various ages, various backgrounds, be able to volunteer with the Salvation Army?
When our phone rings, I never know who's going to be on the other line. I have individuals, I have families, civic organizations, churches, groups that are from 55 to 1. So it really doesn't matter. I never know what I'm going to get. The first thing I like to do is find out what people's interests are, because we have 4 shelters and a meal program and a thrift store, and we have things that happen every day of the week at every hour. Some of those things are seasonal, and some of those things are not. They're ongoing. And sometimes we look for people that have credit, maybe with a class that they need to fulfill, and some people that are looking for something more, like a home or a place to come and just be a part of something. So at any level that people want to give or to serve their time, I think that we can find a good fit for them at the Salvation Army.
Wonderful. And if you do volunteer, I have found from personal experience, it can be fun. It can definitely be rewarding, because you're working side by side, you're with other volunteers, you're meeting people, and you're meeting people that our community needs to maybe lend a hand to. What are some examples that maybe you have come across where someone's really enjoyed working or had a positive experience with volunteering?
I think our positive experiences happen, again, at every level, because we have so many things going on. I have an individual who's simply organizing toiletries in our women's shelter. And I think for
Job
her,
needs to be done.
Job needs to be done. But for her, it's just to have that quiet space and the ability to give back that doesn't have a lot of social aspect to it is one thing. Juxtaposition to that is I had 35 high school students from Minnesota come in a few weeks ago, and we split them up in groups of 5 all over We had them in our family shelter, and we had them outside sorting coats for our coat drive, also scraping paint off our coolers. We have lots of things that we can do, and watching the kids as they would wrap up one project, go and join up kids in another project, they really got to see so many aspects of what we do. And to do it hands-on and to get a little dirty doing it, I think they had a really good time.
I think that's a good point. So if there is, maybe a church or a Boy Scouts, a group that wants a service, a mission project, they're doing a lot of different things if they were to contact you. And how far out, if someone calls you on the phone today and says they want to volunteer, scheduling-wise and putting them in the right place, how far out is that usually?
It really depends on their time commitment and their interest. I know I have definite dates on the calendar now in terms of things that are happening seasonally. Christmas is a big time for groups to come and bell ring or to help us with our toy shop, helping families shop for toys. So I think that's definitely one part of it. I think if they're looking for something ongoing, maybe a few weeks, kind of helps us get a group hooked up into our lunch program, just because we tend to schedule that a month or so out. But it really depends on what the interest is, how soon we can get people up and running. I like to have everybody come in, talk a little bit about the history of the organization. There's a little bit of a volunteer profile, a little paperwork that needs to be done. But we really try to get people up and running as fast as possible, because we know that people come to volunteer because they want to feel good about the work that they're doing and they want to give back. So we're very interested in getting people up and running with that as soon as possible.
Good. Well, we're thankful for all that you do and all the volunteers. And I think that's one thing, if you are walking by and you see a bell ringer, yes, you should put money into the bucket there, but also maybe thank this gentleman or person that we see that is bell ringing, because a lot of times they are giving of their time to help with that. So that's something that's very important. I know that this is a busy time, getting geared up for Christmas. It's a service project that goes year round, but why is maybe the winter months a little more busy for the Salvation Army?
The winter months are big because our big focus, we've got Christmas coming up. So yes, we have the bell ringing that happens, but we also have our toy shop. So what we need to do is we have families that come in and they provide us with information so we can try to hook them up with the right things they need at Christmas, whether it's food or clothing or toys. So we have a piece that does that. We have volunteers coming in, we have nurses, we have individual college students and families that are coming in to help with the paperwork piece. And then we have this whole shopping piece. So we have people who come in and are helping families actually shop and select toys for their children, helping them get them to the cars, getting clothes, getting food. There's so much that goes into the holiday season, and so we really need that help at every level. And my Thanksgiving meal, I think I have 24 people signed up to help, and my phone rings every day. So now we're trying to work on getting people interested in really serving at Thanksgiving, moved over to helping us with Christmas as well. So the opportunities that we have now are definitely based on dates and based on a calendar, but our ongoing opportunities are still there as well. So we're always looking for people to come and help us serve lunch or to help us fold clothes down at the thrift store, especially with our kid program. We definitely need people to be strong mentors for kids and help us with after school and in the summer.
Wonderful, wonderful. So before we move on to the next segment, I'm just curious, the Salvation Army, again, what you want people to know about it and why it is something that you want to make sure everyone in Cedar Falls, Waterloo, maybe spends a little bit of time volunteering at some time of the year. If people have busy schedules, potentially, but coming and being involved is going to help make our community stronger. Why?
Absolutely. Well, I think that just going back to our mission about providing food, clothing, shelter, and hope, I think that hope piece really hits in the heart of a lot of our volunteers. They're looking to give, and they're looking for a place to see their impact, where their time, where their giving is really making a difference. And I think that we can provide that because we can connect them with something that's meaningful for them, for their heart, that also matches up with their time and whatever constraints they have around giving. So I think we're looking for people that are interested in giving and helping the individual that also helps them the greater impact in the community.
The need is out there year-round here. Make sure to give Jackie a call, and she will put you to work in whatever way that you want. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back with our final segment here on Serving the Valley, featuring the Salvation Army.
wherever good can overcome. That is where your contributions to the Salvation Army go.
From the world wars to Korea, Vietnam, to the Persian Gulf, Afghanistan, and Iraq, they saw what few others ever saw. But many veterans don't talk about their experiences. It may be because you've never asked. Learn what you can't always find in the history books. Interview or contribute materials from the veteran in your community for the Library of Congress Veterans History Project. Download a field kit from our website to find out how you can play a role in preserving history.
Welcome back to our final segment here on Serving the Valley. We've learned a lot about the Salvation Army, how it's been around for over 150 years, how it's been a huge part of our community, how you can volunteer, but also needing the financial support to help out these many, many programs. Joining us here is Grace Colt, Development Director, and last year was a big year for the Salvation Army here in the area. Why? And talk about some of the service projects and things that made last year so big here.
We had a kind of record-setting year as far as some of our programs go last year. So for our meal program alone, we served over 70,000 meals.
70,000.
To the hungry here in the Cedar Valley. We sheltered 540 individuals, including, I think it was about 128 of those were children, 39 intact families who were needing emergency shelter. Our youth program saw about 200 kids throughout the year. At Christmas, we gave away almost 13,000 toys, coats, clothing items, books, just necessary items to help make a Christmas for, it was a little over, I think, 1,700 families here in the Cedar Valley for Christmas last year. So it was quite a big year for us, and thankfully the community has supported us well enough that we were able to do all of that.
So how is Salvation Army funded? Is it just for whatever is dropped into the red buckets, or are there other sources of revenue?
There are several sources of revenue. The Red Kettle campaign, which we are most famous for, is that Red Kettle out at Christmas time is 40% of our annual budget. So it is a significant portion of our budget. But then the rest of the funding comes from individual donors throughout the year, local foundations, grants, agencies, things like that. And for some of our housing programs, we do get some federal funds through Housing and Urban Development. But for the Salvation Army, 83 cents on every dollar that's donated goes directly into services and programs for those in need. Our overhead is very low, and we do try to be very good stewards of the money that's coming in, so it can go right back out for its intended purpose to help those who are in need of it.
So you're constantly serving the community in multiple ways year-round, every single day, 365 days out of the year. But this Christmas, this holiday season, I know you're busy, everyone who works there. Just talk about, that campaign for the Christmas season and why that is so important for the rest of the year as well.
Well, at the Salvation Army, we mark time by Christmas. When you're involved with the Salvation Army, typically it's, I haven't been here for 3 years or anything like that. I've been here for 3 or 4 Christmases. And it's so important because it's so much of our annual budget. That 40% of our annual budget will come in about a 3-month time span. So we're heavily focused on the fundraising because the funds that are raised now will support us throughout the year, but then our social services also skyrocket during the seasonal activities with Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so it's just incredibly important that we not only hit our goals now so we can be providing services now, but that we can also be assured of being able to provide services next July as the needs continue in the Cedar Valley.
40%. Yes. Let's talk about some of those special events that go on maybe around this time of year.
Sure. As far as the fundraising goes, obviously the Red Kettles. So the Red Kettles usually go out in mid-November and they stay out through Christmas Eve. We do take our day of rest. We don't ring on Sundays, but every other day we will be out at about 20 different locations around the Cedar Valley ringing the Red Kettle. And then KWWL will be doing its anchor challenge again. So we'll see which of the 4 main anchors can raise the most money for the Salvation Army. We normally have a mayor's battle between Waterloo and Cedar Falls. It's been a lot of fun over the past couple of years. And then we just, Union Day is also a big fun one for us. A lot of the unions will take sites over. It's usually the first Saturday in December and go out and ring all day. And so all those special events and just seeing how the community gets involved to support is really heartwarming.
Yeah, it's not just one set of people, it's the entire community that needs to step up to the challenge and needs to assist the Salvation Army when working on this. So talk about how people can help maybe year-round.
Year-round, I mean, we're needing the support year-round, so one of the things you can do is get on our mailing list, because about once a month we're sending out information about what that month's needs are and why it's important to support. I mean, the summer programs, the Easter programs, the programs go year-round, and we're needing support year-round. So getting on the mailing list is a good way to stay informed. Checking in with us on social media is also a really good way. We're putting a lot of our needs out on social media right now, as far as financial, but also volunteer activities and ways that people can get involved or support us. But yeah, just being in touch with us, even just giving us a call and saying, hey, I got a couple hours, or I want to give, but I don't know how to give. What can I do? We're happy to take those calls and share that information.
Grace, I can't thank you enough for all that you do here. And again, just talking about that many people that are impacted with those statistics that you talked about last year, and I know that this year will be just as big. But why are you excited? In that first segment, we talked about the new leadership with the Majors Harold and Lynetta Poff, and they've been involved for a long, long time, but they're new to this area. Why are you excited to see maybe the direction that they continue to build this here in the Cedar Valley?
Well, we've been very blessed with some very good leaders, and we've been building towards kind of a grander vision for the Salvation Army here in the Cedar Valley, simply because our scope of services is so big. And with our new majors, with Major Harold and Lynetta, I really feel like the snowball is about to start rolling down the hill. That's just my personal feeling, that we're really getting going on seeing that vision come to fruition. And so it's really exciting to have them here, have their new energy, have their excitement and their ideas as we just continue to move forward to continue to provide the necessary services at the highest level that we're called to provide them.
Wonderful. And Grace, I know you're involved in other service organizations as well. But what, in our final minute here, what do you want people to take away from this program, knowing about the Salvation Army?
We like to get the word out about how extensively involved we are in the Cedar Valley and how many lives are being impacted through the work we do. And because of that, it's so incredibly important to support in any way that they can. If it's financial, fabulous. If it's volunteer, that's wonderful too. But just to get involved and be a part of that impact on the lives here in the Cedar Valley, just to make a better place for everyone.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for joining us, and make sure the next time that you see a bell ringer or have some time to volunteer, you contact the Salvation Army. Thank you, and I hope you keep on doing many great things for our community.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. That will do it for Serving the Valley as we take a look at the Salvation Army. Until next time, take care of Cedar Falls and Waterloo.